Hi, I'm Lewis from Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism. I just want to talk really briefly about the intervention, the imperialist intervention that is actually taking place in Syria right now. I mean, some people are describing the way that the vote took place in Parliament last night as though we'd stopped the war. You know, we've stopped the intervention and actually we can protest against the US, but actually Britain is out of the war. Actually, I just want to give a different picture. About 9 months ago, David Cameron was in Saudi Arabia. It was the second time in the space of months that the British Prime Minister had been in Saudi Arabia. And then about 2 months later, Prince Charles visited Saudi Arabia. Quite peculiar that two political leaders in a country like Britain would visit a country like Saudi Arabia in a matter of months. Well, actually, when you look at the situation in Syria, Britain might not be sending planes to bomb Syria right now, but there's British troops in Jordan. There's British money being funneled to the so-called opposition in Syria, which is buying arms from Saudi Arabia. Just a few months ago, it emerged that hundreds of millions of pounds worth of arms sales had been taking place from Britain to Saudi Arabia. Now, why does Britain have an interest in giving hundreds of millions of pounds worth of arms to Saudi Arabia? Obviously for profit, but also for the control of the Middle East. You know, Britain is already intervening in Syria. You know, we're talking about stopping a war. Actually, the war is already taking place. You know, this is a war controlled by the US, controlled by Britain. The drive for airstrikes actually shows the need that they feel they have to control Syria even more, because what they're doing is not working to exert their control. And I think if we're going to fight against the war, if we're going to fight imperialism, then we need to stand against the imperialism that's happening right now. There's actually British troops over the border of Syria in Jordan. Why are British troops in Jordan? And secondly, why are we doing nothing about it? The British troops in Jordan are providing so-called logistical support, technical support, not only to the repressive dictatorship of the Jordanian king, but also to the so-called opposition in Syria. British troops are in Jordan, just want to repeat that, giving assistance to so-called opposition in Syria. I think we need to stand up against British imperialism wherever it is, and we can't delude ourselves into thinking that we've somehow stopped it. I think we need to stop the war, we need to say hands off Syria. Cheers.
Before we have the next speaker, we want to do something that will get some media attention.